Kip, what's up, man? It's good to see you. Good to be back. I'm in a better mood today. I was in a very bad
Compared to
mood.
last week.
Oh, I was in a bad mood. This week I'm in a better mood, but I'm like, hurry, let's do this. Like, let's get it all done because I was gone all of last week. So today I'm playing catch up and I'm in a good mood, but I got a lot of stuff to do today. So let's crank it
have
out.
to be productive. Yeah,
Exactly.
totally.
I got home at I think 3 a.m. yesterday. Traveling's horrible, just generally. But
Yeah,
lately, it's even more horrible with airlines and staff shortages and fuel prices. I mean, the cost of what I paid for my son and I to get to Texas. And granted, I'll take some ownership. I delayed that stuff. I think we booked our flights 4 days, maybe or so, before we were supposed to go down there because I hate
yeah,
the logistical side of things. I have two incredible women helping me on that aspect of my life. Brandy, who helps with all the podcasting stuff, and then my beautiful wife. Between both of them, they still have a hard time reining me in when it comes to logistics of things. But yeah, it's horrible, And then we fly into where do we fly into? Dallas, and then our flight from Dallas to North Carolina was late. First it said a half an hour, then it was 40 minutes, then it was 50 minutes, then it was 60 minutes. I'm like, bro, I don't think we're gonna hit our next flight from North Carolina to Maine. But we made it work. We put the hustle
yeah.
in, we made it work, and we got the biggest thing that we were frustrated about, my son and I, is that we had 90 pounds of pork. We had 90 pounds of pig meat. And if we missed our flight, that meat was ruined.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we made it home.
And you have a short window to make that work out well for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And if like we missed that flight, that meat's going bad. And I was thinking about it, I'm like, if it goes bad, what do I do with it? And I thought, I'm gonna leave with the airline. That's their problem. They can deal with it. They're the one that's got me late. So like they can
Just
deal with
don't
that
go
shit,
pick up
not
the
me.
bag.
I'm not gonna
That'd
pick
be
it up.
hilarious.
It's their problem.
That'd be
That's
so
the point. It's
funny.
their problem.
Yeah, it would be so funny because they're like, you know what? It smells like death in the baggage claim room.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine who we've been friends for probably 2 decades at this point, at least.
Yeah.
And we've hunted together. We went to Hawaii together last year and hunted axis deer out there. And he bought, I don't know. He's independently wealthy. He's very successful. I think he bought a boat in Alaska or something, or bought into, I don't know. I don't know what he did, but
Yeah.
he's always in Alaska fishing. And so he sent me some halibut from Alaska to Maine. And the post office called me. This was last year. Said, "Hey, we have a package here and it's leaking. Would you like to pick it up?" And I said, "No, I don't want to pick it up." I said, "Just throw it away," because I knew exactly what it was. So they threw it away. And unfortunately, I didn't get my halibut from Alaska last year. But
That's funny.
you know who you are, brother. You better get
it was
that
on
stuff
ice.
quicker. No, it was leaking because it took too long to get here and it thawed out. And it was,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the ice or if the halibut. I don't know how he even packaged it. I didn't even open it. I didn't even get it because I said,
funny.
"You guys dispose of it. I'm not doing it." So they did. The joys of hunting. I'll tell you what, if you're an outfitter or a guide of some sort and you're listening to this, I'll tell you the biggest thing that you can do, this is a gap. I'm always looking for gaps because I'm a marketer. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm like, where's the gap? Like, what can I do to improve this? I'll tell you where the gap is for you outfitters and guides. If you get the shipping stuff dialed in, you'll sell out every hunt from here till forever. Because every hunt I've been on, I go on a hunt and I kill an animal and I'm like, "Hey, what do I do with the meat?" And they're like, "I don't know." I'm like, "Really? Like, you didn't think about that? You didn't think about how I might get my meat back to wherever I am? Maybe you ought to think about that." And look, you might say, "Well, it's not my responsibility. I showed you how to kill it." And what? It's not. But if you locked that in, you'd make yourself indispensable. That's all I'm going to say. look for the gaps, fill the gaps. That's where the opportunities lie.
Yeah. There you go. Someone take after it or get after it. Take care of that.
All right, man. Well, let's get to some
So,
questions today.
Yeah. So we're fielding questions from Facebook. To join us there, facebook.com/group/order of man. All right. Nick Perry, your thoughts around a father's role in addressing their teenage child's depression?
My thoughts on their role. I mean, obviously the role is integral. You know, I think that goes without saying. Like it's your job. I think there's a better question in here. That's really something I want you guys to focus on. Actually, is asking better questions. Like your thoughts. I can appreciate that you're curious about it, but I don't know where to take that. So one of my favorite quotes is, the quality of your life will be determined by the quality of questions you ask. It's not a high quality question. It's an important question. I'm not saying that. It's a very important question. It's just not a great question because I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, are you asking me, do I think they should get therapy? Are you asking me what I think they should do? Are you asking me if depression is real? Are you at like, what exactly are you asking me?
Child? Yeah.
So many different things. So the first thing I would say before I get into what I would interpret as his motive is ask good questions, guys. Be specific, be relevant. Give me any not overly contextual, but any context that I actually need to be able to answer the question. And then I can give you a more formulated answer that will actually put you in a better position. If you just say thoughts, like I don't know what you're looking for. So in the spirit of what I think you're looking for is, if I had to interpret it, I would say you're asking me how I would handle a situation if a child of mine had depression. I think that's how I would interpret that.
Yeah. And to be fully transparent, I added your thoughts. His original question was a father's role in addressing their teenage child's depression. So I was like, well, your thoughts maybe. So
so like that, the answer to that question could literally be, I think it's important.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Right. And so, but that's not what you're looking for. So if you want, so I think a lot of the times that we're deviating from the question, I promise, brother, we're going to get to it, but this is very important. You guys need to ask for what you want. And if you don't ask for what you want, you're not going to get it. So if you want a promotion at work, you better ask for a promotion. Like none of this bullshit about like hemming and hawing around like, oh, how can I be more valuable? What can I do? And blah, blah.
Yeah.
No, like, hey, Kip, you're my supervisor. I've been working here for 3 years. And here's X, Y, and Z that I've done. And I would like to be promoted to this new opening that is available. And here's why I think I'm valuable. And will you promote me to that position?
Yeah.
Like, guys, like grab life by the balls, please, for once. You want to change your life? This is the single greatest thing you can do. If you're one of our young brothers who are single, or maybe you're not so young, 40 years old for myself, and you recently went through a divorce, or maybe you've never been married at all, and you really have this woman that you're interested in, grab life by the balls and actually like, go up to that woman and say, I would really like to take you out on a date. Will you join me for dinner this weekend? Or if you've been dating a woman for months and you love her and you want to spend time with her and you want to be with her forever, man, ask her, hey, I want to be with you for the rest of my life. I can see this. I know I want this, and I know what we can create together. Will you marry me? Gosh dang, man, like grow some balls. If you've got a wife and maybe you're not as intimate, okay, I'm going to share something personal right here. So I got home after being gone for a week last night at 2 a.m. My wife was asleep on the couch. But you know what? We were intimate last night because that's what I wanted. I wasn't taking no for an answer. All right. And please don't misinterpret what I'm saying here. I'm not saying take advantage of women. Yeah. Some of you assholes are going to interpret it like that, but I'm not taking no for an answer because I'm assertive enough to go after what I want. And what I wanted last night was her, my wife. I wanted to be intimate and sexual with her. And guess what? The deed was done.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I don't talk about that a whole lot because I try to respect my wife in that context, but I think it's important for you guys to understand that if you want something, you got to go after it. Like nobody's going to guess. Nobody's going to hand it to you. Nobody's going to give it to you. Nobody's going to try to assume what you mean or read through the lines. Like get what you want. Okay. Now to come back to your question about thoughts about children in depression, what are you asking me? What I'm going to interpret is how would you deal with it? What I would personally do is I would spend a boatload of time with my child, being engaged, being present, teaching. I went on this hunt with my oldest son and we were gone for about 5 or 6 days. And we had real conversations about girls and life and what he wanted to do. And we joked and we teased each other and we told stories and we watched video footage from the hunt and we laughed at each other and we teased each other and we said, that was a good shot. Good job. Well done. And I was just present. Now, if we have something that's a little bit more extreme, like something where it's, clinical depression, for example, then there might be an instance, and I read through some of these questions. I think this is going to hit on something a little bit later that you're going to bring up, is where you just need to get out of the way and realize your own limitations. So if I have a child who's dealing with some real mental issues or depression or even suicidal thoughts, then I need to be strong and bold and courageous enough and confident enough in myself to just get out of the way and bring a third party in this case, a therapist. So are we talking about a child who is dealing with the frustration and confusion and anguish of turning into a young daughter or excuse me, a young lady or a young man into a man or a woman? And that's something you can certainly deal with. Or are we talking about something that is, clinically diagnosed as being suicidal or depressed? And that's an entirely different issue. And then we bring in third party resources to help out with some of that stuff. And we shouldn't be intimidated by that. The only reason you'd be intimidated by that is because you care more about yourself than you do about the people in your life. Like if I'm intimidated, so I'm going to jump ahead to that question. I think there was a question later about how do you bring other people into his life or something like that along those lines. My oldest son, my oldest son has a strength coach. He does power. My oldest son does powerlifting. And so I have another coach, a coach who actually teaches him and guides him and instructs him. I can't do that. Like I don't know enough about that. Now, if I was so ego-centered to believe that I had to have all the answers, then I would be doing my son a disservice. But instead, I decided to get out of the way and bring somebody else in who is uniquely qualified to offer that training to him. And he's infinitely better served than what I could do for him. So we need to be aware of that when it comes to the depression, suicidal thoughts side of things, all of that as well.
Peyton Owens, what's your take on helping a family member who's addicted to drugs and a criminal? My family always tells him, go get rehab, do this, do that. For someone who is deep in his ways and surely against taking accountability, that angle of approach doesn't hit home with him. I haven't spoken with him in a long time, but recently I decided to take him fishing to show him that people are actually cool and life can be happy. Ultimately, I'm trying to get him to turn himself in because he's a fugitive. Any thoughts or advice? I've always just accepted his way and detached myself, but I want to provide some value to him and Kerrigan.
Listen to the terminology you just used. I'm trying to get him to ...
Yeah.
You can't. You can't. all you can do is influence. That's all you can do. And for you to take him fishing, that's a very influential moment. I think that's well played. I would commend you for that.
Yeah.
You know, you took the family member fishing. And I don't know what you guys talked about, but maybe you talked about his issues. Maybe you didn't. I don't even think you necessarily need to. You know, you just be there. You be for him. You be there for him. You show him or her. I don't know if it's a male or female. Him or her, how important they are, and that you value them, that you care about them, that you want to be with them, that you want to serve them. So I think what you did is exactly right. The problem with high achieving men is that doing the right thing doesn't always produce immediate results. You know, so if you go to the gym and you're 40 pounds overweight, you know, you might see some nominal results over the next couple of weeks, but it isn't going to be what you want. And that's the blessing and the curse. The blessing is that you're motivated. You're like, no, I want more. And that's a blessing. The curse is it doesn't come fast enough. And so for somebody like yourself who cares deeply about a family member, the blessing is that you actually care. Like, that's beautiful. That's a great thing. The curse is that you can't control this person. So you can go, it reminds me of, it's Hitch, the movie Hitch with Will Smith. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah. It's like a superhero of some sort, right? Is that Hitch?
No, Hitch is where he's like a love doctor, and he like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He connects.
Yeah. I remember.
And he has a funny scene with the guy. I don't even know the guy's name. He has a funny scene with the other guy in the movie, and he's teaching him about how the first kiss after the date, when you walk the woman to the doorstep, works. And he's role playing with a guy.
Yeah.
Kevin, something. Is it Kevin? I don't know. He's role playing with the guy, and he's like, okay, now if you're the man, you go 80% and you let the woman come 20%. And so he goes 80%. Will Smith, because he's role playing with him, goes 80%. And he's like, and you let the other person come 20%. And then they end up kissing, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I told you go 80%. You don't go the full 100%.
Yeah.
This is the same scenario. You don't go 100%. You go as much as you can, but you got to understand that they have to come a little bit of the way. And it sucks when they don't, but that's not your responsibility.
Totally.
If you go 100%, you're going to burn yourself out. You're going to burn yourself up, and you're not going to be able to serve anybody. So you find whatever that appropriate number is. I don't know if it's 40. I don't know if it's 50. I don't know if it's 80. But look, if they're not willing to invest in themselves to some degree, whether they're a drug addict or they abuse alcohol or they have mental illness, whatever, if they're not willing to come some portion of the way, gosh, there's only so much you can do.
Totally. And I think you're going to set unfair expectations or even have a covert contract when you go 100. Right. Of you're like, okay, I'm going to do this and they're going to change. And when they don't, then what? Right. Like, I actually really like what Peyton said in his last sentence. He said, I've always just accepted his ways. And then he adds, and then I detach myself. I'm not saying you have to accept his ways as in being okay, but there's huge power in saying, hey, you know what, brother, I'm going to love you as a family member. I'm here for you when you need it. I care about you. I unconditionally, from the perspective of, hey, you can keep being a dipshit and do horrible, things and mess up your life. But guess what? I'm willing to take you fishing regardless, and you don't have to detach yourself. Now, we've talked about there's always some dangers and boundaries, and you don't want to have a relationship that's affecting maybe you or your family in a negative way. And so there's some balance there. But there's huge power in just accepting someone for the way they are without the reasons and the excuses and the preconceived notions that they need to be changed or be somewhere else. And let's be honest, that's a powerful relationship, right? If I know, Ryan, that you care for me, not because, I have to change or I have to be a certain way for you to actually even be my friend. Well, what kind of friendship is that to begin with anyway? Right. And so there's some power to stand for him, in spite of his differences, and be there to support him. Thoughts still, Ryan, on this, because I've given a lot of thought about, because we go to this, right? We go to Lighthouse, Tugboat, Be a Good Example. But I do think there's some value in what causes someone to change, right? And really the first couple steps of that is their realization that there's a problem is the first step. And usually the second step is getting clear on the impact of their way of being. So you just maybe knowing that and knowing that the first step isn't necessarily him getting off drugs. That's actually not the first step. The first step is him actually realizing that he's got a problem, right? And that him coming to the conclusion, is he willing to make that necessary adjustment due to the impact? And maybe you use that and twine that into your conversations a little bit. But I think everything we just said is still relevant regardless of that.
So I heard, I think I posted this on Twitter several months ago. I said, never attempt to rescue somebody who isn't willing to participate in the rescue.
Yeah.
And then I heard somebody else say something very similar just a couple of weeks ago. I think it was on one of my podcasts. Actually, I think it was Tim Tebow. I think he said, when you're rescued, you become part of the rescue party. Like you have an active role to play. And I've got a book coming out in the fall, and I actually talk about one of the chapters in the book is don't be a superhero. Don't be a superhero. You're not Superman. And your goal and your job is not to run around rescuing victims everywhere you go. Your job is to build influence and credibility and authority with other individuals. And you don't do that by rescuing people. You do that by arming them with the skills and resources and information and skill set they need to be able to rescue themselves. And it's hard to see somebody that you care about really struggling. It is hard. And so we run in and we act like we're Superman, and then it doesn't work. And so we wasted a bunch of time and energy and resources, and we maybe alienated or ostracized other people that were important to us or that were willing to participate in their own rescue for this individual who's not willing to do the same.
Totally.
So guys, we really need to be careful of rushing in to save Gotham City or you know, or whatever. Like that's not your job. Like our job as men is to empower people. If you were to ask me, what is my role with Order of Man? It's to empower people. I made a post in our Iron Council, which is our exclusive brotherhood, earlier today. And I said, don't become friends with your team members. That's not why these guys are here. They're not here to be your friend. In 6 years, I've never heard a single person say to me, Ryan, the reason I joined the Iron Council is so I can have more friends. Never. The reason I joined the Iron Council is I want camaraderie. I want accountability. I want better results in my life. And so I talk with our team leaders and I tell them consistently, don't be a friend. You can't rescue people from the same plane that they're operating on. You got to be on a different plane. It doesn't make us better. I'm not saying we're worth more. We're better than individuals, but you can't. I think Einstein said that you can't, or at least it's attributed to him. You can't solve problems at the same level of thinking that the problems were created. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
It's you got to be on a different plane. And if you get so close to these individuals and you rest all of your sense of self-worth on them improving themselves, it's a recipe for disaster. Step aside, be influential, establish authority, establish influence, establish credibility, and then you got to let the chips ride. You got to let it go where it goes. And it doesn't always land in your favor. I had a buddy when we were right out of high school. He really liked to go to Vegas, so I'd go to Vegas, and he liked to gamble. I don't like to gamble. I never have. And he would say, I'm going to go down to Vegas. I'm going to ride the red train.
The red train?
The red train. And
I don't even know what that is.
He'd go play roulette, and he would put a bunch of money down on roulette. And I don't even know the rules. You guys know better than I. But if it lands on a red number, then he doubles his money or whatever. I don't really know exactly, but he would like double his money. And so he's like, always ride the red train. So he'd go put his money down on red. And then it was completely out of his hands. I'm like, bro, like it's a 50% chance it's going to land on red. And he's like, yeah, but if I do it enough, then I'll whatever. All I'm saying is it's just chance at that point. And that's what he was doing. He's like, put it all on red and let it ride. That's a little bit about what we need to do when it comes to influencing people. Do everything that you can possibly do and then just let it ride. And don't attach yourself to the results. You know, with this guy, like you put in all the effort, you put in all the work. And if he improves, great. If he doesn't, too bad. But it says nothing about you. You just let it ride because the rest is beyond your control.
Yeah. And I love what you said earlier, Ryan. What's the real value? You caring.
Yes.
That's the real value, is him knowing that someone's there caring in spite of his poor decisions. Yeah. That's powerful in itself.
Yeah.
Matt Gross, what are your thoughts on building your children's credit ratings before they turn 18?
I haven't really thought about that, actually.
Yeah.
I don't like the credit system anyways. Like I'm trying to get to a position where
you're not reliant on it. Yeah.
Bank to give me some money based on my payments or lack thereof. And you know, we're getting there. You know, that's a good position to be in. Look, yeah, maybe that would work. Maybe it's valuable. I wouldn't be too concerned about that because frankly, you know, I didn't have credit when I was 18. I think the first vehicle that I had, my mom co-signed with me so I could build up some credit, but that was after I was 18. So yeah, maybe you can have them as a co-signer on your account, or you can open them a small credit card or something, or an authorized user. My kids all have individual bank accounts. Like I pay my two oldest sons because they do work for me. And not only are they earning money, but I'm also getting a tax write-off, which is nice. Like I'll take advantage of that. So get an accountant who knows what they're doing so you can take advantage of those tax laws. Yeah, I don't know. The answer is I don't know. I don't know enough about it. But yeah, I'm not going to go like, maybe there's a way for you to take out a small, like $500, you know, credit card or credit limit. But like, here's my thought outside of the financial stuff. I'm repulsed by the doctrine of popular culture, like absolutely repulsed by it. And it's repulsive to me to get a child who has no idea about responsibility, like quite literally does not have the mental capacity to understand it, to get them a credit card, to put them in debt, to enslave them to their own debt and interest on top of that before they're 18. What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah.
That's the doctrine of popular culture. And I'm repulsed by it. I'm disgusted by it. Now, some people will say, well, you know, Ryan, you have to play the game. What if enough of us decided we ain't playing that game anymore? And we said, no, we're playing a different game, one of fiscal responsibility, one of building up income, one of buying only what we can afford, one of understanding how debt works and how millions and hundreds of millions of Americans and people around the planet have become slaves to their debt masters. That's the doctrine of popular culture. That's what everybody tells you to do. That's what the media tells you to do. That's what politicians tell you to do. What if you did the exact opposite? And you said, no, I'm going to save my money and I'm going to drive the junker for a little while. And I'm not going to go buy a brand new house. And I'm not going to compare myself to the elites and the wealthy and the rich. And I'm going to live my life the way that I should. What if we did that instead? And what if hundreds of millions of people did that? I mean, you want to talk about a problem? Talk about a problem with the deficit in this nation. Talk about how we're beholden to China, how much debt of ours they own. Talk about how beholden we are to Russia on our barrels of oil. And all of you people are complaining about gas being $4 or $5 or $6 a gallon. Well, you're complaining about that because you were complicit in importing hundreds of millions of barrels of oil from a tyrannical dictator known as Putin. And you were completely fine with it until your gas prices went up. Get yourself independent. And you don't do that by participating in the charade of the credit system. Plain and simple. Teach your children financial independence. Teach them to make money. Teach them to stay out of debt. Teach them to limit those credit cards. Same thing with the credit card points. So many of you guys, and look, I get it, but so many of you will go out and you'll buy a credit card or get a credit card and you'll say, well, I'm doing it for the points. You know how many of you actually do that? It's probably less than 1%.
Actually, using the points is what you're saying?
Yeah, some of you are smart enough and disciplined enough to do that correctly.
Yeah.
I know some people who are. I'm not one of those people. And I was in the financial planning industry. Okay, 99% of you, the credit cards or companies are preying upon you. They're preying on you. You are the prey. They are the predator. And you willfully participate in the hunt. Do you remember, what's the movie? It's with Mel Gibson. And there's this Russian. He has a friend. What happens
when you travel? You're like, what are all these movies that I've been watching on the airplane?
No, there's this good movie. What is this movie? Holy cow. How can I not remember this? Mel Gibson. And he has an Indian friend. And the Indian's like, hey, this Russian wants to hunt you. And so you're going to dress up as an Indian, an old, decrepit Indian, and he's going to try to shoot you. And the Indian collects money from the Russian guy. And then he's like, and he gives Mel Gibson half of it. What is that movie?
And this is in the plains.
Oh, like is it Maverick? Indian. It's Maverick.
Is it Maverick?
It's Maverick.
Because he was like gambling on a boat and stuff too, right? As part of
You're the fake decrepit Indian. You, the American consumer, that's you. And the Russian is preying on you. The Chinese are preying on you. Hell, your own people are preying on you. That's you. And then you're like, well, how do I play in this game? You don't play the game.
Yeah.
That's the answer. You don't do it. You don't play the game. And then you become so financially independent that when your kid comes to you and says, Dad, I want to buy this truck, you become the bank. All right, son, you need $10,000 to buy that truck. I'll give you $10,000 at 5% interest. You're going to pay me every month. You miss 2 months in a row. I take your truck and I sell it. And you become the bank. You become the patriarch of your family. And you get out of this bullshit that society is telling you to do. Your friend is setting you up. The Russian is trying to kill you, and you willfully play the game.
Yeah.
What is wrong with us? Damn. Get me fired
Immediate
up.
Gratification.
It is.
Now, we should be fair. I mean, Matt's not suggesting any of that. But maybe we can paraphrase for Matt here. Is there some strategy to build your kids' credit? For sure. But what's the most important thing? Teaching your kid not to get in debt and being disciplined in regards to what they want and not playing the game. Is that a good, fair summary for Matt?
That was nice.
Okay.
Good cop, bad cop.
All right. Jason Curtis, what's your advice on scaling a small seasonal business? I'm trying to offer more to customers with limited space. Depends on the business. Yeah. You know what, I have to say this, you're alluding to the quality of the question you ask, right? And that's fair, right? Like that allows you to answer the question better. But what it also does is it forces me to identify what I'm seeking advice for, right? If I go vague with you and say, hey, Ryan, or even let's use your promotion idea, right? Hey, Ryan, boss, I want a promotion. Like that means I haven't thought through this. What promotion? What am I interested in? What are my skills and where do they align in whatever I'm seeking, right? So by asking a good question, it also means that we're being intentional and we've worked this out a little bit. So our question can be very specific and valuable. And then we get also a better response in the same breath.
So let's do this, because I do want to answer the question to the best of my ability. But let me hit on this first, because we've addressed this and I wrote this down. What makes a good question? What critical components make a great? In fact, there's a great scenario right there. What makes a great question versus what 3 factors make a powerful question? You see the difference? Like, one's broad, one's more specific. Oh, he wants 3 answers on what makes a good question. That's a better question than the previous one I just asked. So what 3 components go into making a powerful question? And actually, we can go deeper. What makes a powerful question? One that you get a good, powerful answer to.
Yeah.
Something you can actually implement. So what 3 components? Well, number 1, I would say that it needs to be specific. It needs to be as specific as possible. Right? The more specific, hey, what would you recommend to a seasonal job? I don't know. Are you talking about a lawnmower? Are you being, like a landscaper? Are you talking about running a ski resort? Like, I don't know. Are you talking about a travel agency? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And all 3 of those would have different strategies.
Yeah, exactly. And to be frank, like, it's a different answer depending on the seasonal business. It really is a different answer. Yeah.
Yeah. So number 1, specific. Okay. What else makes a powerful question is number 2 is you can actually get an answer to it. A lot of people will ask rhetorical questions or just broad, general, vague questions, and they'll do it to sound smart. Like, asking a question doesn't make you sound smart. In fact, you guys have all been in scenarios where people ask dumb questions. You're like, oh my God. We had a guy in the military, and I've told you this, I think.
I have, yeah. But to share again, I mean, not everyone listens to every episode.
I don't want to throw this guy under the bus, so I'll save some names here. But whenever we did like a safety briefing or some sort of seminar in the military, at the end, everybody says, "Does anybody have any questions?" And there's always one guy who everybody else is like, "No, I'm done. Like, I just want to go."
Clear. Yeah.
We get it. I just want to go on leave. Like, I don't need the STD discussion. I just want to go on leave. And there's always one a-hole who's like, "Well, actually, I would like to ask this question." And we called him DQD. Dumb question, and I'll leave out his last name. But it started with a D. Dumb question D. Dick. Because he would ask dumb questions. It's like, what? Like, why are you asking that question? Like, hey, he just answered it 2 minutes ago. And most people are asking the question to sound smart. That's why they're asking the question. Like, ask a relevant question. So it's got to be specific and it's got to be relevant. And then third, it's got to actually point you in the right direction. It's got to move the needle into something that's important to you, something that is crucial. If you're asking me like, "Hey, Ryan, what do you like better, Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi?" I don't give a shit about either. Okay. That's not going to move the needle in the right direction. It doesn't matter. It's a dumb question. How's that going to improve your life? The other one people ask me all the time, and I don't even understand the reference. It's some movie. And they say, when we do these Ask Me Anythings, would you rather fight 100 horse-sized ducks or duck-sized horses? I'm like, what is wrong with you guys? Like, I get you're being funny. Like, I get it. I'm not a funny guy. I don't know what movie it's on, some movie or something about what's the direction of a laden swallow or something. I'm like, what are you talking about?
I looked this up at one point. I can't remember.
I don't get what you're talking about. But it's on some movie. I don't care. And you shouldn't either. You should care about things that are like, if you're being funny, I get it. Like, I can be funny occasionally, not very often, but occasionally. But like, ask a real question. Okay. So That's what makes a good question. What was the question?
The question was, what's your advice on scaling a small business?
So here's what I would say. And you might say, well, that's a dumb answer. Right. Right. Because I don't have the specifics. So here's what I'd say. Learn how to use social media. Like the better you can get at social media, the better off you're going to be. And so many people complain about social media and, you know, it's like, oh, it's horrible. And they censor it. And I talk about that. You know, but also social media is free and it's a powerful tool. And we wouldn't be having these conversations if we didn't know how to do that. So that's number one. Number two, learn how to take it above and beyond. Everybody will offer bare minimum service.
Yeah.
And they'll think that, oh, if I just offer the bare minimum, what Joe Schmo down the street offers, then I'll be competitive. Maybe, but what if you took it 10 or 20 or 50 or 100% further? Then everybody would come to you. Okay. Totally. So we have use social media. We have take it further than what they expect. And that basically, if I were to strip all that away, it's to exceed customer expectations.
Yeah. Wow factor. Yeah.
Yep. And then number three is, I would say, is be different. This is the hardest
selling
one.
Proposition. Yeah.
This is the hardest one. Because if I were to ask, if I pulled out 10 random entrepreneurs out of the Facebook group, for example, and I said, tell me why you're different than your competitor. All of them would say they're different. And then from the average consumer, the layman, I would say that sounds like what everybody else just said. So kill your, this is the term I use, kill your sacred cow. Like so I'll give you an example. My sacred cow is the podcast, right? Like I think I'm the best podcast in the world. Like I believe that. I think I'm good at it. Where I struggle, I work to shore it up. We bring on great guests. The conversations are relevant. It's the discussions we're having are more important than any other podcast in the world. I honestly believe that. But if I detach from it for a second, I have to assume that most of the podcasts out there would say the exact same thing. Joe Rogan would say his podcast is the best. Jocko would say his podcast is the best. Andy, because I know Andy Frisilla with Real AF, would say his podcast is the best. Is it? Is mine the best? I don't know. Like I really don't. So what I have to do is I have to actually make myself different. I have to actually say something different. I have to actually do something completely different than what's ever done before. And that takes money and that takes capital. With the Tebow episode that we did last week, a lot of you guys listen to that. In fact, the most amount of people we've ever had, ever in 7 years of podcasting, listen to that episode. Well, I spent a lot of money and a lot of time, and Brandy made a lot of investment and poured a lot of energy into making sure that episode happened. I could have done a Zoom video with him. No problem. No problem. Instead, I flew me and my team to New York. We rented camera equipment that we needed that we didn't have. I spent extra money on making sure my editing team had the tools and resources they needed to put out video content they needed. We wanted to make it different, and we actually had to do something different. So you have to look at it objectively. It's hard. Yeah. When you look at it, you think, oh my gosh, I poured so much time and energy, and you have. And what you believe is you've done more than anybody else, and you haven't. You haven't. Rarely has that happened. So I had a bunch of people reach out after that episode, and they said, oh man, this was the best episode you ever did. And oh man, it's like the camera production and what you guys did and how you set it up. Right. It's different. It's unique. It's something you've never seen before. Actually, you want a great movie on this is The Greatest Showman. Have you seen that, Kip?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
I love that movie. It's with Hugh Jackman and Zac Efron. Zac Efron, I think his name.
Yep.
And that Zendaya or Zendaya or whatever her name is. I think she was on maybe Spider-Man, the newest Spider-Man. It's her. It's got a good cast. The movie is so good. Hugh Jackman is just an incredibly talented person. Like, I actually really admire and respect him as an incredibly talented individual. But go watch that movie. Like, he created something that had, as his character, that has never been created before. He didn't regurgitate what somebody else did. He created something entirely different. And that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Create something the world has never seen before, and they can't help but take their eyes off of you.
Yeah. And sometimes that creativeness is found in the gaps of what you were alluding to earlier. What are the gaps? Sometimes that's your unique selling proposition as well.
Well, so here's an example of this, Kip. So when I started in 2015, one of my early inspirations was Brett McKay with Art of Manliness. And I wanted to create Art of Manliness 2.0.
Yeah.
And what I realized is I can't out Brett. I can't out Art of Manliness. I can't. Not only does he have a huge head start, but he's uniquely qualified to do that. Now, as I've studied and researched and seen what he's done, he's way more thoughtful than I am. He's way more analytical than I am. He's way more organized. He's probably significantly more humble than I am based on what I know. And it ain't me at all. And so fortunately, I learned this very early on, and I realized I can't out Brett. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create something entirely different. And I decided that instead of just putting a bunch of content out into the world, the model I was going to use was to help bridge the gap for men between what they know, all of this information that Brett and others had to share, and what they actually do. Because if I told you, hey, how do you lose weight? Every single person would pretty much get it right. Well, you got to eat a little better and you got to move a little more, or a variation thereof. That's what everybody would say. And that's accurate. Well, why do we have so many fat asses in the country? If I said to you, how do you get out of debt? Well, you should increase your income. You should track your expenses in your income, and you should stop spending so much money on stupid things. Right. Everybody understands that. Why do we have hundreds of millions of people who are broke? Because they don't do it. And so I made the decision, in spite of what I saw out there that was already available between what Brett was doing and other magazines and outlets. I said, okay, I'm going to bridge the gap between what we know and what we do. And we created the Iron Council very early on, which was a brotherhood, the camaraderie, the accountability, the plans, the checkpoints to move from knowledge to application, from information to wisdom, application of said information.
On the court.
Right. Guess who's starting other membership programs and membership site? All these other people I was inspired by. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. They're trying to out Ryan. They're trying to out Order of Man. They cannot do it because I'm ahead of the game. Like, I'm ahead of the ball on this. I figured it out. And so they're playing catch up. They shouldn't be playing catch up. What they should actually be doing is running a different race. That's what I did. And that's what, long story short, for this question here, run a different race. I don't know what your race is because you weren't very specific on that, what that is, but whatever it is, run a different race. There's a great book called Blue Ocean Strategy. I don't know who it's by, but Blue Ocean Strategy. Cirque du Soleil was a case study of that. And if you look at what Cirque du Soleil did, I don't know, maybe late 90s, early 2000s. I don't exactly know when they came out, but if you look at what they did when they came out, is they took so here's the premise of the book. Blue Ocean Strategy is uncontested market space. So the red ocean is like, hey, I'm a landscaper, and so I'm just going to go compete with the other landscapers. Well, there's 40 other landscapers in your neighborhood. Like, that's red ocean, right? You're all just competing over the same fish, and it's just a red ocean. It's bloody, it's nasty, it's dirty. Blue ocean is uncontested market space. So Cirque du Soleil came in and they said, all right, well, look, we have theater and we have performance, and that's red. That's the red ocean, right? There's Broadway and there's other plays and other programs. And then we have the circus, and that's red ocean. Excuse me. And so that's contested market space. What we're going to do is we're going to combine circus with theater, uncontested market space, blue ocean. So now Cirque du Soleil was born. And of course, now you have other people. So it's become more of a red ocean at this point, but they took two entirely different components and they merged them together to create something the world has never seen. I did this in my financial planning practice. All the old timers were like, well, here's how you market and here's how you refer and here's how you do this. And I said, screw you. I'm going to start a podcast. What's a podcast? They'd say, with their belly hanging out and their hair balding and their chair a little higher than their client to make them feel more important than they are. Oh, that's stupid. A podcast, like nobody would ever listen to that. And I started a podcast and I started to blow these guys out of the water because I was in uncontested market space. And I let all the old timers, all the old has-been sharks fight over the same clients while I was over here doing my thing. And here we are 7, 8 years later, creating something the world has never seen before. That's the blue ocean you need to be involved in.
Christopher Jones, how often
and also,
do you
I would
train?
say this. Sorry, Kit. I would also say this. When all the old timers come to you and say, hey, Ryan, how are you doing this? Can you please show me how you do this? That's a nice feeling. That's a really nice feeling. And, we be gracious and we do, right? We do show them, but it is a nice feeling. I got to admit.
All right. Christopher Jones, how often do you train firearms and what style of training do you prefer? Run and gun, fundamentals on paper, etc.
I don't train
training with firearms?
Yeah. I don't train with firearms as much as I would like. I mean, we go out and we shoot our pistols, we shoot our rifles, not run and guns so much, but for the most part, it's accuracy, it's long range rifle training, things like that. Admittedly, I could do better on that, and I should. I've got a friend here who went and did some courses. He just invited me to a course, and I couldn't make it because I had some conflicting schedules. But I said, let me know when the next one is, because admittedly, this is an area that I definitely need to develop some proficiency with. So I wish I could give you a better answer of all the terminology and stuff like that. But there's great schools out there. And
for sure.
I've been to some training and done some things here and there, but I'm not the guy to ask on that. I wish I could give a better answer. I can't, frankly. How about you? Do you have a better answer?
No, I don't as much as I should. I know I should. And in fact, the last time I went shooting, it was with a cousin of mine, and he's like special forces. Right. And so his version of let's go to the range is like transitions between weapons, and you know what I mean? I'm thinking I should do this stuff more often. This is so fun, but I need to step up my game. Those guys in Utah, who's Tim? Is it Tim Grover that has the survival field tactics?
No, I think you're talking about Mike. Tim is
that's right, Mike Grover
with Jordan. Yeah, Mike with field survival.
Right. Yeah, they have a presence here in Utah now, and I've been wanting to kind of make that a priority and get up there and train. But yeah, I have the same answer as
last
you,
time,
and I should do more.
Yeah, the last time I trained, really got after it, I spent some time. It was like a couple of years ago with Border Patrol, and I actually went through their qualifications course. So I was spending time with them, and they said, "Hey, next week we have our qualifications course, so we need to train. Do you want to train with us?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to." And they said, "Well, let's see if you can qualify for your firearms." I'm like, "Yeah, great. Like, I'd love to do that." So I barely made it with the pistol. I barely qualified with the pistol, and I beat all of them with the rifle, which was cool because they're like, "What?" Like, I beat every single one of them with the rifle, barely qualified with a pistol. Yeah, I need to do more. That's funny for sure.
Yeah. All right. Luke Jansen, a little bit of insight here. So what are your thoughts on plant medicine, particularly when an induced dream inspired a family member to break up shortly after a birth of a child? So a little bit of history for the question, but what are your thoughts on plant medicine?
I'm not like well-versed enough in, like, when I hear plant medicine, the guy that comes to mind is Aubrey Marcus.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
and I
Yeah.
think of like ayahuasca and bohemian, like earthly remedies. I don't, that's not me
Yeah,
like at all.
totally.
Does it work? I don't know. Maybe, sure. Yeah. I think, look, there's some validity to it. I mean, I believe in God. I believe that we have the things that we have, although there are poisons and dangerous animals and venomous snakes, that you got to be aware of. Like, there's also some things here that we could probably use to help unlock new sides of our brain and new performance. That ain't me at all. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. What I hear when I hear plant medicine is hippie. Oh, you're a hippie. Got it. You're a hippie.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
You got your
And
stereotype. Yeah.
and if that works and you want to, what do you even, I don't know if you drink or smoke. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. The only thought I have about this is I can't, how's this? When I think about this or I have conversations around this, I always have to ask myself is the benefit that you're getting in this particular example from plant medicine, is it possible to accomplish that in another means? And is the plant medicine just a shortcut to something that if I did the harder route, I'd be better off doing? Does it make sense? So like,
yes.
and I just use that as a measuring stick, right? Of trying to like, is it good for me? Is it not good for me? Is it a form of a shortcut to something that I could achieve a harder way, but that harder way actually develops me as a person? You know what I mean? And I become a better person because of it. So those are just thoughts that I have around it. But.
So here's what, look, I agree with you. And here's what I would say. I think there's doing work and trying to find avenues to do soul searching, to do, meditation, mind work, all that kind of stuff. Dreams, you're talking about interpreting dreams. And I also think there's wanting to get high and drunk.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Yeah. There's the abuse side of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to get high, like, go get high, like go, smoke some weed or whatever. Cool. Like, you don't need to tell me it's some special plant healing medicine or whatever and I'm not saying that's who's the guy's asking.
People use that as an excuse is what you're
totally
saying. Yeah. Yeah.
100%. If you want to just get high and drunk and go to Burning Man and like meet with cool people and have sex with, men and women or whatever else you do at like Burning Man, like, go do that. Like, whatever. That's fine. Like, go do that. Yeah. I don't care. It doesn't impact.
But own it, right? Don't go like, oh, it helps you spiritually. You're like, whatever, dude. You
right.
just wanted to
whatever.
Get high.
You just wanted to get high, and that's cool. Like, go get high. It's cool. Like, that's like, I don't like Snoop Dogg. Somebody I think of. He's like, nah, I get high. Like this. I'm like, at least the man owns it. He's like, I'm not trying on some spiritual trip. I just like to get screwed up. It's like, cool. I can respect that. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm maybe just more of a pragmatic, but here's one thing that's interesting. I listen to guys like Aubrey Marcus and even Joe Rogan and these guys who do the ayahuasca stuff.
Yep.
And if you listen to them and you listen to the verbiage, they say, I had a spiritual moment.
Yeah, totally.
I talked with Mother Earth, right? I communed with the muse. Oh, so God, you believe in God? Oh, no, not God. No, it's not God. It's the muse. It's Mother Earth. Yeah, it's God. It's God. We're all having the same experiences. You just don't want to call it God because you hate religion, which I actually understand. Like, there's a lot to be said against religion. I get it. But when Aubrey Marcus or Joe Rogan says, oh yeah, Mother Earth, nature, the universe, you could basically just say God, because that's what all the Christian folk are saying. and everybody's having the same experience. Some people just aren't willing to admit what experience they're having. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. All right. Jacob,
is that wrong?
Opinion.
Like, I'm curious about, like, I've been thinking about that for a long time. Like, these guys talk about the universe or the muse or Mother Earth or Mother Nature or the spiritual awakening. Yeah. It's like, I would actually say the same thing you just said. I might use a little bit different language, but the experience you just shared is actually very similar to the experience I had at church on Sunday.
Yeah. I don't think it's bad. How's this? I think sometimes it's genuine, where people might say, well, I don't call it God because I think it's this, but I do think it's important for us to realize that there are things that transcend religions. Language is an attempt of human to give definition and meaning to something, right?
Yes.
And things get lost in translation and everything else, right? I was having this great conversation with some family members a couple of weeks ago about the 5 agreements, that book, and the 4th agreement. And at one point it was funny because my brother-in-law said something to the extent of like some point that I think he made in the book about who you are is who you are, kind of like I am. It's just I am, right? And I'm like, oh, very similar to what God said to Moses on Mount Sinai, right? And he's like, what? God said that to Moses? Yeah. Yeah. But my point being is like, yeah. And the Hebrew translation of what he said is, I create what I create. I am who I am. Like, it's a very powerful statement, right? Especially the Hebrew version of that. And here we are going, well, no, that's not a God thing. And it's like, well, God said that too, right? And so I think we just need to be open to realize that people interpret different things. And a lot of the time, I think old truth is explained in different languages and it's the same thing, right? I mean, how often is, God represents a number of different things in different religions and different cultures. And that's the word we used to explain it versus other words.
You said it very nicely and you explained it and you offered great. Here's what I would say. The hippies and the religious people like me all believe the same shit, and we just call it different things.
Yeah, I really do think so. I think most of us actually believe the same thing. We just use different words.
We do. Yeah. We do. Because it's undeniable. Like, there's a spiritual plane that we can't explain. Like, there's something going on that we can't explain. And I'm not here to tell you that I have it all figured out. I don't. Every night when I pray to God, I'm like, what in the world is happening? Like, what are you telling me to do? That's crazy. Or like, what? I don't understand about what's going on in the world. Like this is so confusing. I don't get it. Like, what are you telling me to do? What do you want me to do? I will do it. But like, I have some questions about it.
Yeah.
And all those people, when we're talking about plant medicine, I think they're searching for the same questions. Like, I'm confused. I'm lost. Life isn't what I think it should be. I think I'm capable of more. I want to unlock a new part of me. I want to serve people. I want to guide. I want to lead. I want to feel good about myself. And so, like, if I need to do ayahuasca or plant medicine to tap into something that's going to help me find these answers, then man, so be it. But we're all looking for the same answer. Why am I here? And what am I doing? And what do you want me to do? And I'll do it. Just help me understand what it is.
Yeah. And I think it's naive of anyone to come to that table and go, no, Ryan, no, my thing's different. You know what I mean? It's like, no, dude, you don't understand, right? Like we're meaning lives in language. And so often we're just using different language and different words to explain, or an attempt of a human to explain this same thing.
Yeah.
And
well,
I don't know.
One of my
There's
good
power
friends,
in understanding and seeing that other perspective through that other language, I think too.
One of my good friends is Jack Donovan, and Jack is pagan, and so we made a joke. It was me and Tanner, I think, went to an axe throwing bar one time a couple of years ago with Jack. And it was like, the joke was, 2 skinny Mormons walk in with a Jack pagan. And that was the joke. But,
yeah.
And so many people, I've heard people say, well, I can't believe you'd be friends with Jack because here's what he believes. I don't think Jack and I are that far apart, actually.
No.
Like he's got a spiritual element to him. He's very thoughtful. He's way more thoughtful than I am, for sure. He's thinking about life, not just in this realm, but eternity. And I'm like, man, I believe that. Not the way you're saying it, but I believe there's something there. And there's a lot more connection than we give ourselves credit for, or give other people credit for, I think, too.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Last question. Jacob Pinion, what are your thoughts on active rest versus rest? I work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday morning, and I do bujitsu.
Let's do some bujitsu.
We're making a new version here. I do BJJ those nights.
Writing that down, Ashley. Bujitsu. That's her. Bujitsu. I wrote that down.
I'm trying to figure out what martial art. How do we run with bujitsu?
We'll flesh that out.
Okay.
Bujitsu.
Thanks for documenting this. And
anyhow,
he does jiu-jitsu Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings. No. Geez, I'm messing this all up. Let me start over. What are your thoughts on active rest versus rest? I work out Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I do jiu-jitsu those nights and rest in between, but I feel restless on rest days and I want to do something more.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, just go, man. Like,
look.
I think you're overthinking it.
This is crazy. You are not meant to sit idly by and watch 3 hours of Netflix every night. And look, all the health guys are like burning up inside. They're listening. It's like, you got to work out 3 times a week, an hour and 45 minutes each, and burn these many calories. No, bro, you need to work out 7 days a week.
Totally.
That's it. Now, look, Sundays typically a day off for me, right? We're talking about spirituality. That's a belief I have. And so like, am I going to go am I going to go roll jujitsu? Am I going to go to the gym? No, I'm not. But am I going to go on a walk with my family? You're dang right I am. Am I going to sit there if we're watching a movie and do some push-ups here and there and some sit-ups or some air squats, or challenge one of my kids to something, or, get out the bands and like, yeah, of course I'm going to do, or we have war clubs. In fact, I'll show you one. Hold on one second.
Okay.
So
by Origin, by the way.
No, these ones aren't.
These aren't Origins.
I've got this one right here.
Okay.
My Origin ones are downstairs because they're in the living room. I've got kettlebells. I've got the Origin war clubs, which are cool because you can screw on the caps or whatever, and you can add weight to them. But like, I've got this, and when I get done with this podcast, I've got another podcast after this. I'm gonna swing this around, and I'm gonna loosen up my shoulders because my shoulders are always tight. And I'm gonna do some air squats, and I'm gonna move because we're designed to move. So move, I think what he was saying is he does jujitsu Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Is that what he said?
So he's working out though Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then he does jujitsu on those nights.
So let me just tell you my schedule.
So he's pulling 2 days between lifting and jits, but
I think 7 days a week is better than 2 a days. I think if you can move away from 2 a days and move to 7 days a week, I think that would be better for you, personally.
Totally.
Yeah. Like the fitness guys can debate me on that, but you're going to get more rest and recovery if you do it that way. Okay.
Yeah. And I think our bodies adjust a little bit, right? Like I work at least 6 days a week and I train. Like I don't train and go, trains my workout. Like that's just like added cardio on those days. You know what I mean? And I don't feel like, I'm doing too much, So, I mean, I think it's unique to your body, right? How you feel a little bit, but I don't know. Everyone's different.
What do you think about this? I actually don't leave training jiu-jitsu specifically. I don't leave exhausted.
I leave exhausted usually.
You do?
Destroyed. Yeah, usually.
I mean, maybe I'm tired, but I feel mentally uplifted. So maybe it doesn't hurt as much or something. I mean, I'm physically like I'm sore because the way that we run our jujitsu is we go in and we stretch out a little bit and then we roll. for at least an hour, like hard open
and
mat.
you're not feeling burned out after an open mat for an
No,
hour?
because that's one thing I've been focused on is like, how do I do this without getting gassed?
Got it.
And then what I realized, so then after our open mat, we do about half an hour of instruction afterwards. And afterwards, so we'll do some technique and we'll do some drilling and we'll work through some moves and technique, that sort of thing. And that's where I start to lock up a little bit. And when I'm done, I'm locked up. Like my knees, my hips, my lower back is locked up. And so I need to move again and stretch it out. But then I drive home and I'm like, no, I actually feel really good. But that might be a mental thing because physically I am tired, but mentally
I feel the same way. I feel great mentally, but usually like, I'm like drenched and I'm, I don't even want to get in my car because I'm going to stink it up because I'm still sweating so bad after training.
Yeah. But I'm the same way, but I like that. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm drenched. Like my body, but I take pride in that.
Yeah.
I think we're probably close on that. Anyways, yeah. So here's what I do. No, not even that, because what feels right is to not go at all.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
You've trained yourself over 12 years or whatever it is of like, no, this is right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like brushing your teeth, I don't know that that's a natural thing. Like, I don't know if our early ancestors had great, white, beautiful teeth.
Yeah.
But we've trained ourselves to brush our teeth because it's, it's good to have teeth so you can chew the meat that you eat, It's like, I don't know if it's natural. And in fact, 100% it's not natural.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
You're
why.
right. I mean, the natural man is not going to do it. Yeah.
100%. Because our early ancestors, what did they do? Like, if you strip everything else away,
you preserve energy. So you have it for when you go hunt. Yeah.
That's it. That's it. And you try to make hunting as easy as possible. Because if you had to get yourself killed to get a pig, like, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
So 100%, the natural man is like, don't do that. Rob Wolf talked about, we did a podcast together maybe about a year ago, and he said, no, we're wired to be fat and lazy. You actually have to actively fight against that. Anyways, here's what I do. So I train Monday and Wednesday evenings. I train Tuesday and Friday mornings. When I say train, I'm talking about jiu-jitsu. Tuesday and Friday mornings. And then I do CrossFit on Tuesday and Thursday nights with my family. That's what I do. And then Saturdays are active. So we're sledding, or we're walking, or we're hiking, or we're playing. And I wrestle just about every day with my kids. And if we're watching a movie or a TV show, I'm usually doing air squats or push-ups or sit-ups or Indian clubs or Origin War clubs as we're doing that. Like, I'll get up and I'll do 10 swings on each arm, or I'll do 10 front squats with a heavy war club, or I'll do, 10 shoulder presses on each arm with the center mass bells from Sorinex. Like, that's what I'm doing. That's what we do.
Yeah. So I do push, pull, and legs twice a week. So those are 6 days a week. And then I train probably 3 days a week during noon. And then when my kids say, hey, let's go for a walk or go and rest, I go, leave me alone. I'm tired.
But you go.
Yeah. No, I'm just laughing though, because you're way more active probably with your family, but I push myself too much. I'm like, no, I don't.
No, I don't believe that. I actually don't believe that. I mean, you might say that. Are you being serious? Like, no, I can't imagine that being you. No, like, that doesn't sound like you.
I'll still go for walks and stuff.
You'll go 100%. Just be active, just move. And I actually take a lot from Cam Haynes. Like, so Cam runs like a madman, he's running like literally a marathon per day. Yeah. And I'm not exaggerating, literally a marathon per day. And people all the time, oh, you're going to hurt your knees. Are you going to injure yourself? And yeah, maybe that's hard on the joints, but also his body adapts to it. You know, he's an athlete. He's a world-class hunter. He's an ultra endurance athlete, and he's conditioned his body to be that way. Now, if I said like I'm going to go run a marathon a day, it probably wouldn't be prudent or healthy for me to do. But our bodies are better than what we give them credit for. So yeah, if somebody's telling you like, oh, you just need here's how you build the body you want in 20 minutes per day, red flag. Red flag. I'm trying to sell you their 30-minute ab blast program or whatever. That's it.
I was going to say something, but I can't remember what it was. All right. That's all the questions. We actually got through all the questions.
Nice. I think we went a little longer today.
Never
I got on my soapbox just a few times.
No, yeah, it was only just half the podcast about how to ask good questions. So
that, and there was something else. What was it? Oh, the spiritual stuff.
Yeah. It's it's legit, right? And yeah, there's a lot of good stuff that you had in there. So it needed to be said.
Thank you, Kip. Thank you. You have to say that.
On the call today, though, we did mention a couple times, you use the unique, idea of what your unique selling proposition was really around Iron Council, right? Getting on the court in life, taking action, not just throwing content out there, because to your point, we say that all the time. People know what they should do, but they don't do it. And you created the Iron Council as part of that process, which has had huge success, and it's open currently. This is something that we've changed at the beginning of the year. It's not going to be open all the time. We're going to open this up only on a quarterly basis, and it's currently open now until the end of the month. So if you are tired of being a spectator in the game of life and sitting in the bench and watching other people get after it, and you feel like joining the team and actually playing the game, you can learn more about the Iron Council by going to orderofman.com/Iron Council. And just a reminder, I mean, we're roughly the 21st, this week, next week. So end of next week, this thing's closed. So if you wanted to jump in, you need to take some action.
That's right. A lot of you guys have been sitting on the fence about it. Check it out, and see if it's for you. We've got about 1,200 members of the Iron Council right now. We've been going for 7 years. We've been working all sorts of systems and programs and planners and accountability and tactics. Like, I've been through the refiner's fire with all this. And what I can say is that literally thousands of men at this point have gone through the program, have been members of the Iron Council, and have improved their life. That's what I want for you. Like, yeah. I know I get on the soapbox. I know I get off on rants and tangents and things like this, but here's what I want you to know. Kip, you and I, we want the best for men. We want you to feel 100%. Confident in yourself. We want you to secure promotions. We want you to have a deep and meaningful relationship with your wife. We want you to be connected with your kids. We want you to find meaning and purpose in life. I want you to feel confident with who you are. Like, I don't want you to look in the mirror and feel shitty about yourself or, question why you're here. I don't want you to go through depression. I certainly don't want you to think that the world would be better without you in it. Like, I want you to be an active participant, not only in your life, but the life of your family, the life of your neighbors, your community members, this country, the world. And I honestly believe that each and every one of us have such a crucial role to play. And Kip, again, I'm not going to speak for you, but I am just going to kind of represent you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is we want to be champions for you. Like, we're the mentor. Like, this, you're the hero of your journey, and we want to help you be that person. That's what I want. Like, I don't want to save you. I want you to help you save yourself, and you can. And we're going to give you the tools and the skill sets, and the access to other men so that you can do that and be the hero for your wife, be the father that your kids need you to be the kind of neighbor who everybody talks about as being like the man. That's what we want for you.
Yeah. And you're needed, not just, for the other men that we work with, but you're needed in your family. You're needed with your spouse. You're needed in your community. You're needed in this country. I mean, this isn't just, one of the things that I say in the IC, we interview battle team leaders all the time. And I've come to this realization that there's this natural progression. Guys sometimes join the Iron Council for them, right? They I want to join the IC and I want to be a better dad. Or I want to be a better man. I want to be better shape. I want to get a promotion, whatever. And then there's this transition where they come to this realization that it was never about them. And it was really about everyone else. It was about serving their families better. It was about being the husband that their wife needed. It was about being the man in the neighborhood that the neighborhood needs. And it's far, far greater than I think it's even greater than I realize. Like I think, Ryan, even you, I don't want to speak for you either, but like sometimes I don't even realize, I think, the impact or the possibility that is available through me. And I certainly know that a lot of the guys are not present to what type of waves and impact they have in this world. And hopefully as guys rise up with us in the IC, they become more present to that and they become more servant leaders in that process.
Agreed. I was going to say, the only other thing I would say is you said that, and this is not a pitch, guys, like join us or don't. I would like you to say I don't care isn't accurate. Like I would like you to. I think it'll serve you. But here's what I would say. Whether you join us or do something else, like do it. You said you're needed, and this isn't going to be popular. What I say, you might not be now. Yeah, like that's the truth.
Because there was a point you've made it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, because you've actually become a liability to people, to yourself and people around you. So honestly, you might not be now, but I want you to be needed. Yeah. Like I want you to move from from liability to asset. Because that's where our pride comes from. And I'm not saying pride is in like a false sense of inflated ego. I'm saying proud of actually what you've done and what you've accomplished. Chris Rock did a bit, yeah. and I yes, fulfillment, meaning, purpose. Did a bit probably years ago. I saw this the other day, and he had said, women are inherently valuable. They're just valuable because they are, and the only time men are valued is based on what they produce or the value they add to the environment around them. And he was joking about it and kind of putting that thought down. And I thought, he's not wrong. Like he's actually right, but that's not bad. Like I find a deep sense of purpose and satisfaction in being valuable to you guys. I find a deep sense of satisfaction and purpose in being needed and valuable to my family. Like that's where our meaning comes from, is making ourselves more capable and more skilled and more competent and producing effective outcomes for ourselves and other people. And as we do, we boost up our own sense of confidence and self-worth. And that's not wrong. That's a good system. And it's an equation. That's the beautiful, it's just an equation. There's no guesswork in it. We just need to plug into the equation and do it. And then we produce the results that we want for other people. And then we find a sense of meaning in it for ourselves.
Totally.
All right, guys, that's all we've got. If you are interested, by the way, orderofman.com/Iron Council, orderofman.com/Iron Council. It'll be open for about a week and a half, and hope to see you there. All right, Kip, appreciate you putting up for me and my attitude over the last couple of weeks. I wasn't mad. I was just fired up today.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, you may have come across more mad today than you did last week.
Oh, I'm not mad. I'm like, yes, I'm fired up. We got a lot to do.
It's good.
All right, guys. Yeah, it is. All right, we'll be back on Friday. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.